this short session we're about to have is going to cover your everyday drone operations, some suggestions and tips on improving accuracy, as well as the efficiency of your daily work. Now, how many of you guys, raise your hand, have used drones for surveying purpose in the past? Sir, you did? Okay. A lot of people, seems like. What do you care when you're using drones for operations? Accuracy, right? That's a huge thing. Here. Accuracy is definitely something big and something we consider a lot when we're using drones for operation. But how do we ensure good accuracy from drone operations? Well, first of all, there are multiple ways for improving your accuracy when using drones. Drones, they vary from $200 to $30,000, right? That's a huge difference. But what's the main differentiators for in drone in terms of components that would change and improve the accuracy? Any suggestions?
Geospatial referencing, RTK, PPK.
You got it. So RTK, PPK is definitely one of the key technology to improve the system accuracy, as well as the ground control points. Before RTK and PPK was so compact and can be integrated within the drone, people use ground control points. So these control points constrain your output into a scale in order to improve the accuracy results, right? So that's why, to improve accuracy, what we want to do is we want to cross-reference data sets captured from drone and third-party systems. In that case, GNSS receivers, rover data, and more. So you want to cross-reference. That's why when you are doing drone operations and capture precise data, you want to apply control points and control shots, right? Now, we do have some tips. In terms of mission planning part, there's only one objective to improve this. Our objective is to reduce the total flight time and reduce the amount of unnecessary photos taken. The reason we're trying to do this is more photos, well, people think it's great, right? Yes, it's good. However, more photos also means more process time needed. That's a lot of computational power you need. And for most of the scenarios, you don't actually need such amount of photos. One aspect I always tell our customers is think about the accuracy requirements you need. What's the accuracy requirements you want from your project? Is it a 2 centimeter level, 1 centimeter level? And usually you divide such accuracy into 3 times. That gives you the general resolution you want to probably capture. Let's say you want to capture a data set that has a 3 centimeter level accuracy requirements. What I would do is divide that 3 centimeter accuracy to 3, and that gives me 1 centimeter per pixel. That's the configurations I would like to set in my project. Secondly, set boundary. You do want to set boundary, and you don't want to take additional photos, because outside area, that means additional data set that is not necessary for you. Make less turns, especially when you're using LiDAR. Make less turns. That would increase the efficiency and reduce your flight time significantly. Also, plan your takeoff point and landing point as well. Overlaps ratio obviously depends on where you are flying the drone. Are you flying the drone at a field that is extremely flat? If that's the case, you don't have to use the standard or default 60-70% of overlaps. You can reduce probably to 40-50. That would reduce your flight time and the data amount significantly. Okay? And apply terrain follow. Terrain follow is great. Why is that? Because terrain follow would ensure consistent distance away from the ground to your drone flight. That way, your ground sampling distance or in this case, your resolution of your data set captured is uniform. And we have multiple ways for achieving touring photo. We have the ASTR digital elevation model built in. So you can directly download such a model from remote controller. Or even better, because our drone equipped with the obstacle sensors, so it detects the ground distance. So that's why you actually don't need to load up any model for achieving touring photo. We call it real-time touring photo. And this is available for our latest M4T, M4E series, as well as our M3E series drones. And another aspect is consider using Smart Oblique and Smart Ortho. Smart Ortho is something new. Smart Oblique you probably thought about in the past. So over here, I have a screenshot over here to show you where that Smart Ortho or Smart Oblique is. So enabling this feature, your camera would swing left and right as it flies forward. The benefit for doing that, reduce the side overlaps significantly. Now, previously you probably set the side overlaps to 60%. Now you can reduce that because the camera is swaying as it flies. It definitely has its limitation, but for most of the scenario, this is beneficial because it reduces amount of photo and amount of flight time. Not to mention the Smart Oblique flies the entire site only once instead of flying the same operation area 5 times to capture photos from different angles, which is extremely time consuming. So when you're taking photos for a site for smart purpose, for oblique purpose, such as reality capture tasks, consider using Smart Oblique. All right, now let's move on to the preparation part. When you're on site, there's only one objective. That is, try to have most of the work done off-site, not on-site. Because outside is hot or cold, windy. You don't want to stay outside for too long, okay? So you try to get most of the work done while you're in the office, sitting on a comfortable chair with AC blowing at you. First of all, get the mission plan finished and make sure every system firmware is up to date. You don't want to do firmware updates. Have all the batteries charged and check the weather forecast. If you have a geofence needs to be unlocked, make sure you do that in advance, okay? You don't want to do that last minute. Apply clearance and afterwards prepare your RTK source, whether you use whether you use the state course network or you use your own RTK base station. Get those systems ready to work. You don't want to do troubleshooting on site, okay? And while you're on site, finish the mission. Make backup data and back everything up. Okay, and while you're on site, you finally get everything prepared. While you're on site, turn off the camera distortion options, which is default turn on. So for mapping tasks, we suggest to turn it off because it preserves more information. Not to mention, we keep the distortion parameters embedded in our photos. So later on, when you process these photos outputting a model, the results will be better. Apply ground control points and checkpoints first and set up the base station. And don't forget, if you're using your own base station, always set up your base station over a known point and offset such location to the base station antenna. This is the step people missed a lot, okay? I like to show you how to do that. If you are interested after the session as well, it's extremely easy. But with our base station, you just need to record the known point in WGS 84 longitude latitude. Within the controller, we output this report, which is a quality report, and it shows you amount of photos taken, some camera parameters you used, and we also have overlaps ratio displayed. So if you see insufficient overlaps, you can actually verify directly from the remote. You don't have to verify that. Once you gather all the photos, process them in the office, you can do that directly on site. If you spot anything abnormal, refly the mission, okay? RTK status. How many photos were taken under RTK fixed status? If you move the base station or if the connections between the base station to the drone got interrupted, this will show up as abnormal as well. So these are kind of things are helpful for you to check on site before you pack up and wrap up everything, start heading back. All right, last I would like to talk about some potential issues you may run into in terms of accuracy when processing data. To prevent such unexpected issues happening, always consider to have a secondary reference source. That way, when you failed to gather accurate data, you have a secondary source to re-reference it. So that's PPK we recommend, right? So PPK, yeah, it does require a different workflow. It doesn't need to have a different software to process it, but as a backup plan, it's good because you don't actually want to get back to the site and recapture, especially when it's over 100 acres. So consider having a secondary reference source. And the coarse network is very helpful because the cross network base stations has a pretty good coverage. Depends on where you at, obviously, but it does provide additional referencing source for you. If you're experiencing accurate issue, if you see the data doesn't match up with the ground check shots you captured, first check if it's global accuracy or it's a precision issue. If it's global accuracy issue, check if there's a misaligned coordinate system issues. Are you comparing apple to apple or are you comparing apple to banana? Right? You want to make sure all the coordinate systems and the units align. If you're this can be easily seen when you're having all the data shifted XYZ with a consistent amount of numbers, right? This is something easy to check. However, if you are experiencing various offsets issues in terms of accuracy, well, check if it's relative. First of all, try to PPK process all the photos using the secondary source. Apply ground control points, apply known points to constrain it, to fix it. And if all that doesn't work, recapture the data, unfortunately. Yeah. But I would say the chance for that to happen is very unlikely. Usually it's 90% of the issue we encounter is on the global side. All right, so that's everything about today's presentation.